Okay, so the host isn't here. How do you want to start this? Do you want me to just
I watched the movie today, so it's fresh on my mind. I mean, it's pretty
And so did I,
forward,
for the
huh?
same reason.
Yeah, so pretty
good
fresh
night and
on
good
my mind.
luck?
It's just an episode from the Ed Murrow versus McCartney, and
McCarthy,
I didn't know
McCarthy.
anything about it.
McCarthy.
McCarthy, different concert.
We were supposed to watch
On
the
Twitty.
2000. We were supposed to watch the 2005, not the rebroadcast play.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in Mahoney's take.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah, me
Well,
too.
Yeah, sure. Let's start with
Here.
life.
Here, then I'll start. I don't have any of the details about the movie, including I don't even remember who directed it. But
Clooney.
Clooney.
Okay.
We'll help out.
Anyway, this recounts, a famous episode from Ed Murrow's television past, where he had a program called "See It Now," and it was produced by Fred Friendly, and in the movie, Clooney plays Fred Friendly. In the Broadway edition of this, Clooney plays Murrow. Clooney didn't feel like he looked old enough to portray Ed Murrow in the 1950s. Hi, Jeff. You haven't missed anything.
That's for sure.
Anyway, so in one of my favorite books is called The Life and Times of Ed Murrow. And the reason they call it The Life and Times of Ed Murrow is the fact that McCarthyism and the hunt for communists in the U.S. government wasn't a new thing in the 1950s. It had started in the 30s and some in the 20s when there was a lot of concern about whether or not the Bolsheviks and communists were infiltrating the United States, and there was not much real evidence to that. However, after 1945, and when the Soviet Union announced that they also had the components for an atomic bomb, the Red Scare of the late 40s started, and that was a major concern for a lot of people in the United States. And that's when some actors were blacklisted, and some writers were blacklisted in Hollywood, and that blacklist continued into the 1940s and 50s. So it's a long way of saying that this idea of a Red Scare was not something that was just McCarthyism in the 1950s. It was something that the U.S. and lots of people were worried about in the 30s, and then again at a heightened level in the 1940s because of the Soviets getting the bomb, and there was a very infamous trial involving Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, and a man by the name of Klaus Fuchs were actively doing espionage for the Soviet Union and helped them develop the bomb. Earlier than that, Richard Nixon made his first bones as a national politician, finding out that there was a guy by the name of Alger Hiss, who was a well-known State Department diplomat, who was also involved in espionage with the Soviet Union. And Nixon's pursuit of Hiss turned out with him proving that Hiss was in fact a agent of Soviet espionage, and that launched Richard Nixon into prominence. It led to his vice presidency with Eisenhower, and ultimately the presidency later on in his career. So anyway, when Joseph McCarthy comes out in the 1950s, he's playing off the Red Scares primarily after the war, and because there was so much concern about how did the Soviets get the technology for the atomic bomb, because the U.S. didn't share it with that, and they didn't even share much of the information with the Brits at that time. In fact, Harry Truman himself didn't know about the technology until, or the Manhattan Project, until after he was sworn in as Roosevelt's successor. So there were a lot of people that were very critical of the means and methods of Joseph McCarthy, claiming and waving papers that he said, I have the names of 200 and some odd communists in the State Department, but he would never prove it. He would never list the names. He would only go about persecuting people, and that again included actors and people, especially in the film and entertainment industry in Hollywood. So a number of journalists of the day were already on to McCarthy and his heavy-handed tactics. So Murrow and See It Now were relatively late to the party about exposing McCarthy's tactics. However, because it was television and not the newspapers, and even in the infancy of television in the 1950s, television had broad amount of appeal and power. Ed Murrow had a magical name as the preeminent broadcaster of his day, certainly one of them. And so his program called See It Now in March of 1954 did this broadcast that is the center of this film, that they used McCarthy's own words against him and basically crucified him on his own words. The episode earlier in the movie involving the Lieutenant Radulovich was actually a separate See It Now that took place in the same TV season, but the Radulovich expose was in the fall of 1953 as opposed to the spring of 1954 when the Murrow broadcast on See It Now attacked McCarthy and started to bring him down. Then there were other hearings involving McCarthy and his heavy-handedness with the Army that led to his censure, and he was never banished from the Senate, but he was censured and was heavily discredited, and he lost his influence and literally, would have to take a seat at the back of the Senate. So that's the background of
Mahoney. Where did Roy Cohn come from?
Roy
In New
Cohn
York.
was the investigator for that Senate committee, and just like even today, there are Democratic lawyers for the Democratic members of any investigating committee, any committee in Congress for that matter, and Republican folks as well. Now, I don't know if Cohn was a Democratic staffer or a Republican staffer. McCarthy was a Republican, so I suspect that Cohn was a Republican, and he was affiliated with a lot of conservative causes all the way up until his death, and in fact advised Donald Trump in Cohn's later years when he was an elderly man. So Roy Cohn's footprints are all over right-wing politics in the United States from the 1940s into the early 90s at least. So
Till now.
Anyway, so the movie is pretty accurate to my understanding of what took place. They obviously take some broad generalities about it. I'm not sure why they included the secret romance of the two See It Now staffers, because it seemed a little bit like a side path. Don Hollenbeck, the guy that was basically the CBS evening late night news anchor for New York City and a few other stations on the East Coast. He did have problems with the Hearst papers. He was accused of being a pinko, and he did take his own life. And I think that was another illustration of the terror that not just Murrow and not just the See It Now unit, but that a lot of people felt about the heavy-handed tactics of Joe McCarthy at the time. I thought it was an interesting way to take a look at how Murrow and Friendly worked. It was the one scene in it where they're brought into William Paley's office and told, "Look, you're killing us on the sponsors. We can produce more light entertainment and not this heavy civic stuff for a lot less money." Is striking because Murrow in that conversation in the movie takes the lead and defends their work, and Friendly, who was really sort of the quarterback of the entire See It Now unit, doesn't say a word in that entire meeting, and that really stood out to me during watching this movie for the second time. Although Paley did keep Friendly back to tell him, "Look, there are going to be some layoffs, and we're going to be clopping people out of your show." See It Now did get relegated into Sunday afternoon TV purgatory. It morphed into a program called CBS Reports that was also on Sunday evenings at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Fred Friendly produced that for many, many years. He then went on to NBC, and then in the late 1960s, he was also instrumental in starting the public Corporation for Public Broadcasting. So,
Well, Mahoney, I'm just disappointed you don't have box office numbers and nominations. But other than that, that was a masterful
Pretty thorough.
piece of
Yeah,
live
that was
TV
that was
background.
wonderful.
Holy cow.
And I want to apologize, but I'll ask again, or ask another question. I
sure.
didn't have a chance to Google Paley. What was his background leading up to, I assume, the 40s and 50s? He was instrumental at CBS, but he was
Well,
kind of the news champion.
No, well, he was a
No.
news he was a news champion, but he was sort of present at the creation at the start of broadcast radio in the 1920s. So Bill Paley was an instrumental figure in the development of the CBS network, and that's why he was chairman. There was another guy by the name of Frank Stanton that is not featured in this film that was heavily influential, and then the guy that Jeff Daniels plays was a gentleman by the name of Sig Mickelson, who was the news director for CBS News. So that's Jeff Daniels' character. But Paley was instrumental in the creation of network news, broadcast network programming.
And
Oh,
Paley, even though he gets a bad turn in this movie, was really a champion of news.
Yeah.
Yes, initially, yeah.
Yeah, just, I mean, eventually he had to say, I got to answer to shareholders,
Yeah.
this is a money loser, and we'll keep you on the air, but we're going to keep you on the air at a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But he defended that, and like he said in the movie, I never said no.
Right.
Anything you put on. So he's revered in network news and the creation of CBS itself.
Yeah.
Remind me again how it ended. He just made his point. I mean, did they oust McCarthy because of the findings, or
McCarthy ended up being censured by the U.S. Senate, and the denouement of this, if it really is a denouement, is the fact that after the See It Now broadcast and the coverage that preceded it in newspapers, the Senate then felt that McCarthy was sufficiently weakened that they had a set of hearings called the Army McCarthy hearings, where they looked into how he browbeat the Army and in particular the State Department, and he was discredited. And then at about the same time, McCarthy began to have some health problems, I'm sure induced by all of the stress of going through all of this. He was a heavy drinker, probably an alcoholic, and he died in the late 1950s. A broken man, still a senator, but he was a broken man, and was never a force in national politics again.
Does
I was
anybody
proud
know
to
who
see
wrote-
Stuart Symington have a pretty major role in that one scene.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Symington before was also the Secretary of the Air Force. I think he was the first Secretary of the Air Force in the 50s, and then he went, and then I think he came back to Missouri and ran for the Senate and had that Senate seat into the 1970s for sure, maybe the early 80s.
Did Symington replace, or did Eagleton replace Symington?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Jim Symington, who was a congressman from St. Louis, he had the seat that Dick Gephardt had for a long time, ran for the U.S. Senate against Jerry Litton in '76 in the Missouri Democratic primary, and Litton trounced him. Litton trounced him, and then Litton was going to face Jack Danforth in the Senate, but Litton dies in the plane crash on primary night in August of 1976. So Warren Hearns gets appointed the designated Democratic nominee, and Jack Danforth cleans his clock, and basically, it's one of the seminal steps that created the modern Missouri modern Republican Party in Missouri.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it took $7 million to shoot it. It made $54 million at the box office, so it was successful. Released in October of 2007, and I was trying to. Do you know when it came to Broadway, Mahoney?
yeah, I think it was just last
Relatively
season.
recently, yeah.
I think
so the movie came first,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. The movie was 2005,
right?
and then the Broadway version of it was in the 24-25 Broadway season.
Yeah.
Clooney starred in that.
Yes.
Clooney starred has Murrow in the Broadway play. He played Fred Friendly in the film.
Right.
And I thought Strathairn was great.
He was. He really was.
So who wrote it? We know?
Pardon me?
We know who wrote it?
Didn't Clooney write it?
Clooney had a hand in it. The other thing,
directed by Clooney, written by Clooney and a gentleman named Grant Heslov, produced by Grant Heslov.
And Heslov's also in it.
oh yeah,
Who was he?
He's not listed as well. He's not listed as a star, but
He's not in the cast.
well, not in the whole. That's just the top 6 stars. So he may have been elsewhere. I'm just
Played the string bass.
my Wikipedia.
and Clooney comes to this story pretty naturally in the sense that his dad, his
Yeah.
name, I think it was Nick Clooney,
Yeah.
was a big time local anchor in primarily in Cincinnati, I think, and then later on out in LA. But George Clooney grew up in a household where there was a well-known local TV anchorman.
Well, his aunt is Rosemary Clooney.
Right.
Yeah, Aunt Rosemary Clooney. So, I mean, he obviously had a passion for the First Amendment. Seems like it's a prescient movie, basically, especially in light of where we're at right now. But he comes to the issue of the First Amendment and freedom of speech.
So the 2005 movie precedes a Trump administration.
Yeah.
Comes to Broadway after the first Trump administration.
Exactly. But I
That
think the
means-
themes are very, very similar.
Yeah.
It was so to me, the courage in journalism, it took a lot of courage for Murrow, but he didn't get any backslapping from anybody. He could do what he wanted. That's what I loved about Paley. But at the end of the movie, I was like, he brought McCarthy down, at least to be censured. Why? And I know he lost it. I mean, that's the thing. It's like the integrity versus the ratings. I guess you have, you've got to make your sponsors happy. But it would seem to me that there could be, knowing that McCarthy went down, it would seem to me that they would have been able to keep the show going. So one thing I thought, he brings McCarthy down, he gets him censured, he gets Milovich, whatever, he got him taken care of and back into the Air Force. And he still ends up being demoted to a Sunday afternoon show with only five. And basically, they were just kicking him out without firing him. So it really was, it was up to me, it was just so upsetting and so typical of what was happening right now. John Dickerson, who I really think is an excellent reporter and newscaster. And of course, he's left CBS. And then when I saw the Nora O'Donnell, I think you mentioned that, didn't you, Gary? The Nora O'Donnell interview with Trump.
Right? I didn't mention it, but I saw it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was like no follow-up questions, no, everything is just there. And I understand it because it's exactly what was in the movie. The people, you can't put down the people that keep your license alive. It's so frustrating that the fear
Well, the
and
landscape,
propaganda. Yeah,
the landscape has changed. Back when there were
sure has.
3 networks, we had 3 choices.
Exactly.
Now there are 3,000. The
Yeah.
day that Craigslist became a thing, overnight, newspapers lost 30% of their revenue because want ads were suddenly free.
Yeah.
You can't see that coming, and you can't lop off
That much.
30%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just impossible. And Joan and I watch the evening news. It's just become a thing. But I think, there's less and less people, like the Colbert Show. You don't
Yeah.
have to stay up late to watch the Colbert Show. You can watch it the next day on YouTube for free.
Exactly.
It's you can't put all that back in the bottle. That genie's gone.
So that's why I think something has to change. And I don't know exactly what it is that has to change, but I keep seeing it over and over again that, you're going to, if you're a White House correspondent and you ask the president anything that he doesn't like, you're going to lose your credentials.
Joan and I asked last night, there's a new president of CBS News
Yes.
who doesn't really come out of legitimate news. And we
No.
looked at each other last night and said, I wonder if she was in the control room when that got edited, because now everything that comes out of CBS has an asterisk by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the only thing that's going to change is if there is some way to label what ends up on the internet this was researched, and this was just somebody throwing out rage, because rage is what gets eyeballs.
Yep.
Somebody said yesterday, I heard this morning, it's not sex that sells, it's rage. And the most outrageous thing you could put on there, and the algorithms are and at some point, if you just don't want somebody's top of mind rage, you need to be able to click and go, is this research? Did somebody fact check this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Until we
Exactly.
get
There
there,
has to be something.
until we get
There
there,
has to be something.
we're
Yeah.
just victims of whoever's got the most outrageous thing to say today.
Right.
Well,
And
and the I don't, Donna, I don't know what the change is going to be, is because of the balkanization of information. People are attracted to the viewpoints that they agree with,
Sure.
rather than a viewpoint that may
confirmation
enlighten them.
bias. Yeah.
And it's I'm not sure what the way out is. The way out is not the way back,
No.
because those days are gone. I mean, I was
Well, it
talking with
seems,
a friend of mine over the weekend. There's a huge merger underway now between the Nexstar TV stations and another station group called Tenga, Tenga, and there are lots of markets where Nexstar and Tenga have competing stations, both have stations in the market. They're not going to be able to do that when they become one. one larger Nexstar corporation. And one of the places that's where the axe is going to fall heaviest is probably going to be in a place where at least all the Missouri folks here are going to recognize this, is KSDK in St. Louis. They're the NBC affiliate. They're a very powerful, well-respected legacy broadcast organization. They've been in St. Louis since the 50s. They're in the process of moving out of their TV studios in downtown St. Louis out to the suburbs, and in the building that they're going to, the building is basically going to be big enough for engineering and for sales, and they're not building room for a news organization. And so Nexstar is planning on pasteurizing news with small local cut-ins to effect that will deal with whatever the major local stories are and the local weather, and then everything else will be homogenized out from different base stations, if you will, for Nexstar. And KSDK is likely going to be one of the victims of that, and that will leave St. Louis, which is a top 20 market, probably with two genuine local TV news broadcasts, the one on Channel 2, KTVI, and then Channel 4, KMOV. And then the rest of the market will be in entertainment programming.
Jeez.
I have a TV trivia question for you. Let's see who knows the answer. The producer of the Grant Heslov gentleman, the role that he played was as the director of See It Now, which was he was playing the role of Don Hewitt. Anybody know who Don Hewitt was? Mahoney?
Don Hewitt was the godfather of 60 Minutes. He put the program on the air and was the executive producer for 60 Minutes for maybe 40 years.
And he had his hands, he was the director, which I assume it was calling the shots in the control room. That's where he started as a control room, take camera one, mic two. That was his job on See It Now. So that's where his roots were on the technical side of TV. Anyway,
more about the movie. I love that it was done in black and white. It had that kind of a documentary feel to it that I liked. I love that they used McCarthy, the real film clips, instead of an actor, which I thought was great. I actually did like, and I guess this is more from a woman's point of view, but I do remember that you couldn't have any kind of relationships with the people that you worked with, and certainly you couldn't be married. So you had to hide that. And again, it was, I still don't know why, but there was one of those things that I remember, that there were so many things that, as a female, and usually the people that you meet, most of the people that you have, good relationships with are the people that you work with.
I
At
met
least that's been
Joan.
my
Met
experience.
Joan at an all news radio station that we both went to work for in Jackson, Mississippi. We got married and she had to leave. It wasn't a hard decision, but almost at the same time, I got a job in TV, so she wouldn't have had to have left if I'd have gotten the job like 3 days earlier. But
It's amazing though when you think about it. And Mike Mahoney, isn't there another group, not Nexstar, but another one that
Sinclair.
there,
that's it, the one that requires them to do the right-wing edit at the end of the see, that's what kills me. That's not news, and I don't know what to do. What the thing that was the most powerful thing that I saw this week, and it was only on, I guess it was on YouTube. I guess it was on YouTube.
see, you're the
I don't.
problem.
It was Rick Steve. I'm sorry, what?
You're the problem.
Yeah, well, I've got a problem. Rick Steves, and you know, the guy that is the travel guy, he's in Berlin and he's talking in front of the People's House and starts talking about people getting smart. You know that Hitler was voted, and then became chancellor, and then became and he was just making all these, and I was just shocked because he comes across on all his travel as such this nice guy, and he still comes across nice, but he comes across as like people get smart, things are happening, and you're not recognizing the kind of trouble we're in. I mean, basically, is what he's saying.
Wow.
So that was, and it's interesting. I mean, I know there's been shows and people that have said that, but when someone like him said it, to me anyway, it had more of an impact.
Well, I posted on Facebook a video he did. I think it was like a half an hour long that I posted on my page about he was going on about all the issues that Trump has caused. This was a few months ago.
Oh, really? I didn't. Okay, I must not be on your. I guess we're not friends, Jeff. It's not, but I will be tonight. Yeah. No, it was
So-
just interesting.
So I always bring these three questions back. One, what do you think the movie maker was trying to accomplish? Two, did he succeed? And three, was it worth your time? So that's why I was asking about the timing of this. If he shot it in 2005, I don't think he was trying to draw parallels between a Trump administration because it didn't exist. So
No,
was
no,
he drawing parallels to? And or was he at all? Or was just
yeah. See, I thought
honoring
it was
Edward
just,
Murrow?
yeah. I thought it was just an homage to Edward R. Murrow. And for kids that don't know, I mean, you have to be our age pretty much to know who he was. I remember seeing the shows. I remember Person to Person, and that's the one with
Liberace.
yeah, Liberace, which was so funny, about him getting married. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
there was so much, but he also, I mean, I remember him doing interviews with like, oh gosh, uh, I think Jackie Kennedy. I think he did an interview with Jackie Kennedy, and I can't remember, but there were a number of people, and it was just like an entertainment show. And I know he didn't like, but I remember that because I was really young, but I kind of remember those.
So you
And
think so
uh,
is it just
so
uncanny that Clooney's the fact that we watched it now and it's on Broadway now is just an uncanny coincidence that we live with a demigod in power?
Well,
well,
they probably, I think Trump probably maybe had something to do with the Broadway play coming on, but
That's what I mean.
yeah, yeah, I think so. I think initially it was
there's a
like
lot of
an
parallels.
homage, and then when things started happening as Trump got into power, and of course Clooney has been so anti-Trump, I think he recognized that all the same themes are the same themes that are happening right now in broadcast journalism. So
If he produced the movie just as an homage,
The Broadway version of this has a stridently anti-Trump ending
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
It's very, very anti-Trump.
What do they do?
The play, obviously, I mean, Trump's nowhere around. He's 10 years away from it. But what was happening that I think affected some of this in 2005 was George W. Bush
Yeah.
and the Iraq War,
oh yes, you're right. Yeah.
and the fact that some really great reporters and some very big news institutions like the New York Times, like CBS News, like NBC, ABC, CNN, all went in the tank on the yellow cake hearings at the United Nations and
Yes.
all this sort of stuff. And there was a lot of teeth gnashing and pearl clutching going on in journalism circles back at the time about if this is in such dispute, then why do we have all these vaunted news organizations taking one for the administration? And that's what happened. So I
Yeah.
think part of this in 2005 was Clooney's effort to to see that there is an avenue, or it's certainly a place for dissent, and it's appropriate to critically think about what your leaders are telling you, because it's it may not be true. And in the case of Iraq, I mean, it was demonstrably not true. Pretty quickly apparent that they couldn't find any of the weapons of mass destruction or any of that stuff, and that it was a manufactured threat, by the Bush administration.
Did anybody see it in 2004 or 5 other than, and I'm not sure Twitty saw it then. Did anybody see it new?
Yeah, I did.
I did not.
Donna, did it hit you as a Bush statement?
No, actually, no. At the time, I remember thinking that it was, again, I just thought it was more Edward R. Murrow. I didn't. I didn't. But again, yeah, no, I didn't.
Well,
I went to my undergrad at Washington State University, where Murrow went at some point. I don't know if he graduated from there, but
I think he did.
The whole communication system is named after him, and the building and the curriculum, everything.
It's from Skagit County.
Oh,
I think I heard that. Yeah. I don't know where, but.
Well, he grew up in a log cabin, actually, but then he moved to Washington State later on and did his education and so forth.
Where's Skagit County?
That's where Jeff lives.
Oh.
That's where I live.
You live in a log cabin?
Yeah.
That's why he's got all the tenant problems tonight.
Plumbing's a breeze, though.
Yeah. So,
Well,
did
funny
he-
story. That is part of the problem. He has somebody living in an RV and it's dumping sewage out on the ground.
oh no.
So,
Nice.
So if he accomplished what he wanted to, which we all tend to agree might have just been homage to Murrow, did it? I mean, was it successful? I liked watching that chapter of Murrow and seeing him predict, the future of television just being a
And the entertainment.
escape.
Yeah.
Then
It made me wish I'd watched it then.
Oh yeah. It
see it now and watch it then, or the 2000 seen it in 205.
2005.
And as Whit well knows, the speech that opens the movie and closes the movie is an actual speech that Murrow gave to the Association of Radio and Television News Directors, which is a group that is still exists today, where he says, "Look, I might be fouling my own nest here," and goes on to criticize the reliance or the dependence on entertainment on what he believes should be a national source for civics. And that line at the end where he says, and if we don't meet this, then this meeting may be nothing more than wires and lights in a box. That whole speech at the beginning and the end of the movie is directly from that speech in 1958.
Yeah.
Well, the Radio TV News Directors Association, which you refer to RTNDA, announced last week that it will no longer have an annual convention.
Really?
Yeah, it just, basically has disbanded.
Sure.
Somebody has decided there's no point in getting radio and TV news directors together because.
Of course, there's not very many left.
Yeah, because the organization they oversee, like in Mahoney's case at KSTK, may not even exist. So it's a dying breed or about to be extinct.
It's certainly diminishing in numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, and I don't mean to dominate this, but the whole idea of when, say, Witt and Sanders and I got into broadcasting, there was a way to make a living, and if you were super fortunate and lightning struck you, you could become you could make really good money at being a broadcaster, especially if you're even a local TV news anchor. And when the current generation of folks that you see on TV that are in their 50s and early 60s goes away, they're going to be replaced by people that are not going to draw those 6 and 7 figure salaries that some local anchors do now. And the number of people that go into TV as a reporter are going to discover very quickly it's very, very difficult to earn a living wage and start a family on it. And so you're going to see and the next generation and the current generation of people that report the news and anchor the news on TV, be there for 8, 10, 12 years, maybe 15 at the most, and then decide, I'm not making enough money to do this. And they're going to become, they're either going to go into social media and try to be influencers, or some of them might tough it out and try to be the local TV anchor. But the local slog in the street reporter that I did for 40 years is going away. That just won't happen.
Yeah, the fortune and fame equation, there's only fame. There's no fortune.
Yeah.
Fame is relative,
Yeah.
Was he an influence on your career, Mike Murrow, or like when you were a kid, did you look up to him? Was it one of the
Edward R. Murrow was one of my first people in the industry that I looked up to. The others that were influential were Cronkite, but even more so probably was Huntley and Brinkley.
Yeah, Huntley and Brinkley.
Because my father was absolutely convinced that David Brinkley and Chet Huntley were good Democrats. And
and were they?
The fact that Chet Huntley owned an entire county in Montana as a rancher the entire time he was on the air leads me to believe he probably wasn't a Democrat.
Right.
I think Brinkley was, but I don't know for a fact.
Yeah.
Bill, you didn't ask me, but you got to remember that Mahoney, Sanders, and I all came through journalism education, J school at the time of Watergate and All the President's Men, Woodward and Bernstein. I really wasn't focused on an individual personality as much as I was focused on the idea of being able to, keep checks and balances, and my role in calling out, fraud or dishonesty.
Exactly.
We thought we were white knights doing God's work.
And that's the sad part now. There's nobody that can do that because, the fear has silenced the truth pretty much.
Actually, Donna, I think that there are a lot of people that could do that, but they don't have the resources or the backing to do it.
That's what I mean. Yeah. The fear of losing a job or losing your pay or losing whatever and you don't have the resources behind you to do it independently.
Donna, Joan has some very strong opinions, political opinions.
Yes.
And she is afraid to express them anywhere except in private settings because Logan runs a media organization, and 1 or 2 pissed off clients pull their advertising, and she's got to lay off people.
Yeah.
It's the real world.
It is the real, and that's it. There's
I think they were trying to show that in the movie, Alcoa.
Only
it was worse, there was only one organization that backed him.
Yeah.
So don't you guys think though that when you were in college that you're like sitting there and the discussions are about, when I get out of this place, I'm going to expose people, or you talked about all the corruption, and the things that you would do as graduates or in your next job. And doesn't a lot of that come out of the universities? And don't you think it still does? Don't you think the young broadcast journalists coming out of college are like all full of
I hope. Yeah, we would hope.
Yeah.
I hope. Yeah.
So I don't see how, well, maybe it's going away a little bit the way Mike did it and stuff like that, I suppose. I don't know.
Well, this could take a long time. And so I'm just going to give you the headline. I lost a job in St. Louis for investigating a ring of priests who had um, teenage prostitutes. And we didn't even run the story, but when word got out that we were working on the story, advertisers called and canceled, and I lost my job.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And you didn't even run the story.
Best thing that could have
It
ever
was at
happened
the
to me.
Catholic
No.
Church, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, they were good, strong Catholics, and didn't like that we were nosing into this prostitute ring organized by priests.
Hey, I got two questions. On the Hollenbeck character, as far
Yeah.
as I could tell from the movie, it was just one news writer in a newspaper kept getting on his back, calling him a pinko and stuff. But I didn't pick up that he's being investigated by anybody. I mean, was that the case? I mean, I'm just wondering why he would have killed himself over that.
Well, there is that one. Go ahead.
He was he had drawn the wrath of this Hearst columnist, TV columnist, and the columnist's name was O'Brien. I forget his first name.
Jack, I think. Yeah.
Was syndicated all over America, and so when you got crosswise with him, it would be like getting crosswise with
Well, his career was over, essentially, is what you're saying.
well, his
Yeah.
career was in jeopardy. I mean, he had people that were backing him, but yeah, he was in trouble. I mean, he was like getting the wrath of Jamie Waters on Fox or
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson like that. He just became an incessant punching bag.
And wasn't he was a member in the early 30s of a communist organization way before the Red Scare, and then stopped it. Wasn't that part of it?
Yeah, he had some affiliations, I think.
Yeah,
It
and
might
so
be
he
the equivalent
knew.
of being a bullseye of Rush Limbaugh for your
Yeah,
career.
Yeah.
exactly.
Plus, they showed him being depressed about his home life too.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was divorced
and
and
other issues.
yeah.
So Mahoney, I don't remember. Do you have kids?
I've got a daughter. Yeah.
You mentioned Clooney's dad was a broadcaster and grew up in a family with, a famous broadcasting father. I wondered how that worked out in your family, being the well-known reporter you were.
My daughter first went to school at a small Catholic college in Northeast Kansas as a communications major, and she had seen the good and the bad of being on TV, and she eventually, because of a couple of things that happened in her life, positive things, she got involved with the Girl Scouts and became a camp counselor. That led her into education, and she's now a high school English teacher and has been for nearly 20 years. But at one point she toyed with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think is, go ahead.
My daughter grew up in a TV and then publishing household, but mostly TV. And she went to journalism school at Mizzou, got her degree, then went into PR. There's back in the day, you could go into newspaper, photo, magazine, and I think hers is the marketing or advertising segment. And she went into PR, went to work for a PR firm and ad agency in New York City. And then when she came back to Missouri, we convinced her to join us. And now, she's the owner and publisher. So she grew up in a media household and has stayed with it.
And you know what I think is so good about growing up in that kind of a household is that you talked about current events. There's so many people that I see, and they're not talk. At least we used to talk about the news, at dinner time, and I'm sure that's what you guys did too. But there's so many people that don't. That if they have dinner together, they're reading their phones or whatever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
See, it's real interesting. My daughter's family, number one, they have a 21st century family, so kids are going like that. But when they do sit down for a meal, they don't talk about what may be on the news. I don't know that it's a forbidden subject, but
Oh,
it doesn't come up. It doesn't come up. My one very quick story. Carrie was home for Christmas one year, and we went out to a sports bar to watch the Chiefs, I'm sure. And we're sitting there, eating the hamburgers, blah, 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 blah. And somebody comes up and recognizes me from TV. And so the Michael Mahoney conversation starts. And, if somebody was nice enough to come up, I'm nice enough certainly to talk to him. It's no big deal to me. But anyway, Carrie doesn't say a word during all of that. When the person leaves, she's still got her head down towards the buried towards the plate, and she goes, "You know what, Dad? I don't miss that shit."
Jeff Copeland, you've been polite, quiet, and almost silent tonight as we've wallowed in our media theories.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a very vivid conversation and with a lot of built-in expertise. So I didn't feel like I had a lot to add. I did read some interesting things about Edward R. Murrow, who was born as Egbert, and he did grow up in a rural community. And let me see what else I got here. He smoked like a chimney. He smoked 60 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
And he died of lung cancer, as one might expect. But the whole movie, I almost had to wash my clothes after watching the movie.
I know. Yeah.
It was pretty funny. My reflection on all this discussion is that today we're faced not only with a sort of a degradation of the way that broadcasting is done, but it's difficult for any rational person to really know what to trust that they hear from any source. And I think the main goal of this movie was to establish the goodness of integrity. And, that's Edward R. Murrow that was his
Thing.
His whole strength was he stuck with things that he believed were right. And I think his organization stuck behind him because of that. And now people, even if you are right, it's hard for people to know if you're right or the other person on the other side yelling louder is right, or if what you read on the internet is right, or what was on Reddit today, or God knows what. It's just, as you guys have said, the climate has changed drastically, and where our news comes from has changed drastically. Where it's going, I cannot predict, but I'm sympathetic to all the things you guys say, and I miss those days when life was a little simpler and you kind of could understand what was being said and people gave a shit about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the age of this group, we have memories of that. If this was a movie club of 20-somethings and 30-somethings, it'd be interesting what the take would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be.
Well, would they even care about an homage to Edward R. Murrow? Probably never.
Oh, they would walk out because it's black and white.
Is there a K-pop song in here somewhere?
Yeah. You brought up a point I didn't realize. You're right, Jeff. You are concerned about what you're hearing. You just don't want to hear one side, and if you happen to try to fool the algorithm when you're on your computer or when you're on your phone and look at something that is pro-Trump so that they don't know which way you're going. I keep thinking, well, maybe we could do it that way. But I went to ChatGPT. So again, I had asked them, I wanted to know what were the top truthful and nonpartisan news organization or guide. And this is what it said to me. It said the websites in which we would know would be AP, Reuters, BBC, and NPR. Those were the websites. The podcasts were The Daily, The Indicator, which is Daily is like the New York Times. The Indicator is NPR. Breaking Points, that's a podcast. And The Real Story, which is a BBC World Service. And then the newsletters were Ground News, All Sides, and
Guys, I'm sorry, Donna.
no, go ahead.
I've got to go to dinner. I need to go to dinner.
I do too.
Food is not food anymore. Food is medicine, and I need.
Oh yeah.
That's
Who's
what I
that?
saw. Yeah.
Hey, Gary, I
That was
wanted to say,
great.
I hope you
He's up.
feel as well as you look, because you look good.
The
Yeah,
hair,
you
I'll
look
need a
great.
cap next
But,
week. The hair's going away, Jeff.
It's no big deal.
Yeah, overrated. Okay.
Touche.
I,
All
Good
right.
night, all.
Hey, are we gonna get a book for next time, or I mean, a movie?
Karen
wasn't,
was supposed to weigh in, but she
Yeah.
hasn't shown up, so
she'll
maybe
probably
she'll.
write us.
Should
Yeah.
you want me to just ask her to give us a movie? When I
Yeah.
put the newsletter.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it was a real good discussion, you guys.
Yeah, it was.
yeah,
was.
it's excellent.
John will be sorry he missed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Watch
thanks
He's
for putting up
gonna
with that
watch it on
screen.
TV.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody
Bye.
take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
All right.
Good night.